This video is for everyone, but if you actually believe this, you're born and then you die and then you go to heaven or you go to hell, this video is especially for you. As I was once there too, a long time ago. Actually, not that far ago, did I have these beliefs myself. But I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to show you how these beliefs are inaccurate. And they're only true to an extent. Not to the fullest extent that you might have been, dare I say, brainwashed. Brainwash is perhaps a triggering word, so maybe we shouldn't say that. But you have been brainwashed. And that's okay. You know, people don't do, a lot of the people that have been brainwashing others are brainwashed themselves. You hear me? They don't understand what they don't know. They don't understand what they're doing because they don't know. They think what they're doing is accurate, and it's not. It's not correct. It's not right. You do die, and if you're afraid of death, it's very easy to believe this. Born, die, heaven, hell. If you are afraid of death, you shouldn't be afraid of death. You shouldn't be afraid of death because it's a natural part of the process. And I might even add that it's probably the best part of the process because it's when the cycles can renew and start again. So let's talk about death first, because this is a topic that should not be taboo in our culture. This is a topic that should actually be celebrated. And death, of course, in the physical plane here, there's pain. You can't get around and escape pain. There is pain in the physical world. On the physical plane, when you are born, you're crying out the womb. Smack a baby's butt, you cry. You know, it's like pinch the baby, baby's crying. Don't pinch your babies. But you hear me. The thing about death that people don't understand is when you do get to that point, which you have exit points in your life that you have actually already agreed to. You actually already agreed to your exit points, and when your soul is feeling complete and that your soul has journeyed as far as it needs to journey through this lifetime, that is when one of those exit points comes up, you can be like, oh yeah, I'm ready or I'm not. Okay, and what happens if you're ready and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go? Do you understand that death is like blinking your eyes? You can choose to feel a lot of the pain, or you can choose to catapult out of your body and not feel anything. Death is not something to be afraid of, guys. Death is not something to fear. Death can be as painful or not painful at all, depending on what you prefer or what you think it should be. Because you have this cranium right here. You have this consciousness throughout your entire cells. All your cells have consciousness. And you can choose if you'd like death to hurt or not. You can choose to catapult right out. You might be wondering, okay, if death doesn't hurt and it's not something to fear, and I can choose to just escape and leave, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I just go suicide when life is sideways? Because suicide is actually, if you're looking at things on the scale of sin, or what not to do, sin isn't really a thing. What is a thing is karma. On the scale of karma, good and bad, and in between, killing yourself is actually one of the worst things you could do. Why is that? Because killing yourself is canceling the agreement, if you will. There's not a soul. There's no soul contracts, guys. There's agreements, though, of energy. There's energy agreements of, okay, my energy fits into the world in this area, in this place, in this point within the cosmos. I'm going to agree to go. You agree to go. because it develops and shapes your soul. And when you get here, you can't cut that agreement short. You can't cut your own agreement short. So that's just a little bit on suicide and why we shouldn't go that route. It's going to be very bad juju karma for future lifetimes. Okay, on the topic of death, if you believe in born, die, heaven, hell, and that's it. And that's the cycle. Once and done. If that's what you believe in, you don't believe in reincarnation. Here, I'm going to tell you exactly why reincarnation is real and why you should understand that this is true right now. Energy, you are energy, consciousness, energy, is never destroyed or created, it's only transferred. Okay? Now, you're actually currently sitting right here with me right now, and I'm sitting right here with you right now. We're both living to die right now. Our cells are regenerating right now. Our cells are, if you almost will say, reincarnating. Because it's transferring from one cell that dies off to another cell that appears. Your biocells are literally reincarnating. Because it's a transfer of energy. That's what reincarnation is. Okay, so heaven and hell are constructs of the mind. And when we get to one of these exit points in our lives, we can choose to go or stay. When people choose to stay, they're not ready to go. It's called a near-death experience. And there are many studies from many prominent figures within the education space who have done these studies, who show these near-death experiences are true. And what they see on the other side, it varies, but only slightly, and to the constructs of one's own mind, to what you want to see, and what you believe will be there after you start to perish. So with these near-death experiences, guys, people they leave their body. A lot of their soul energy will leave their body, but they're still attached by what one would call like a silver string to their body. So they haven't left fully yet. They're like near death, but they're not at death, okay? So with near death, what can happen is our minds will construct certain things. So you might see what might be hell if you think you're a bad person and that's where you're going. You might see what you would think is heaven because you're like, oh, you might even see Jesus. Jesus might even meet you. Which Jesus is real. But the point I'm getting at is it's not actual, like what's actually after when you actually die, because you're only near death. So these things, you just see constructs of what the mind wants to create. And it's not actually what's on the other side in the spiritual realm. And in the spiritual realm, there are tiers of consciousness or energy frequency. There's lower vibrational and extremely high vibrational and everything in between. And based on your own energy and your own frequency, you'll be placed within one of these tiers. And I can tell you right now, lower vibrational is going to be what someone would call hell. You're not in purgatory where you're going to be there forever. But it's lower vibrational. It's of course uncomfortable. You ever been around someone with bad energy? And you're like, ugh, makes you shudder? Lower vibrational is that. Okay, so back to this heaven and hell and born and die. Guys, that is a paradox in itself that keeps you trapped. It keeps you trapped because you're always afraid to die. And so why would you ever why would you ever consider changing any of your beliefs or opening your mind up to anything beyond that when you're afraid of it? When you're fearful of death, why would you open your mind up to anything of like, what is actually death? What does that even mean? What does it even consist of? What does it look like? So you get on this really bad feedback loop of you're afraid to die. You're afraid to change your beliefs because you don't want to be inquisitive about something you're already fearful of. So it's this horrible loop. And then you're fearful too. You're like, okay, well, I only got one shot, so you're living in anxiety. You're living in extreme anxiety, depression, what have you. Because you're like, okay, I only have one shot and I've done whatever, this and that. I'm not perfect. Am I going to hell, or maybe I'm going to heaven? Who knows? And then after that, it's just, that's it. So that's it. I'm living in fear of death because it's the worst thing that could ever happen, hypothetically, right? I'm living in fear of death. I'm living in fear while being alive because I am afraid potentially I'm going to go to hell based off whatever parameters I think that is. And it's a vicious cycle. I'm afraid to change my beliefs because if I change my beliefs or question my beliefs, am I going to go to hell? Because if I believe anything outside of whatever they say I need to believe, then that must mean I'm going to go to hell. And I don't want that. So I'm not going to question. I'm not going to question my beliefs. I'm also not going to question my beliefs because up until this very moment right here, right now, I have lived. And I'm afraid of death, right? But I have lived with these beliefs. These beliefs have kept me alive. So why should I change my beliefs? What if I change my beliefs and then I perish? I perish. I wither away. Can one see how this is a nasty, nasty loop? A nasty paradox of fearing to live and fearing to die. So you never really live like you're supposed to. If I challenge my beliefs, I might go to heaven. I might go to hell. That's terrifying. That's what people want you to think. That's what they want you to think, guys. They want you to be trapped in your own mind, in your own vicious cycle of I've got one shot to get to heaven or hell, and I can't question my own beliefs because that would mean hell. Because these current beliefs that I have, that have gotten me to live up until this moment in time, are saying that this is how it is. So if I question those things, then when I go to hell, I don't want to go to hell. So I'm not going to question anything. I'm not going to question my beliefs. You see how trapping this loop can be. How trapping it can be. Because it makes you not want to question anything. Why would I question something I already know it's wrong? Whatever those answers are wrong. Because it's not going to get me to heaven, it'll take me to hell. This is how your own belief systems can keep you trapped. You need to question everything, and it's okay to question. You're not going to go to hell. You're not going to go to hell for questioning. I can tell you right now. Why? Because there's no hell. There's what could be considered hell, which is doing the same thing over and over repeatedly, doing the same cycles over and over repeatedly, not learning, not growing as a soul that needs to learn and grow, coming back, repeating the same cycles, racking up more karma, then coming back will be hell. You'll be hell on the spiritual plane because you'll be in lower vibrational energy, which is hell. Like, be so for real, that's hell. And you'll be hell on any physical plane, whether it's this plane or the next, because you're going to have so much karma, your bad karma will keep racking up, that the scales have to balance. And they will balance. If they don't balance in this lifetime, they will balance in the next. So let's talk about why you're here. You're here because you're a growing, developing soul in the macro, cosmic, galactic cosmos. Sorry. You're here because you agreed to come. You agreed to come here because you wanted to learn specific things, and you wanted to mend and soothe out specific karmas on your own scale, to perfect your vessel, to perfect your soul, to get closer to source. You're here because you chose to be. The issues and problems that you have, you chose. The karma, the good, bad, and the ugly, you chose. And you continue to choose. Because eventually we all balance out our own scales, and we perfect our own vessels, and we get closer and closer to source. We return to source. What is source? Our energy that we come from. Every transfer of energy wants to go back, loop around back to its source. That's the ultimate goal. And how we do that is we do that by learning and growing in the physical plane and in the spiritual plane. After you die from this lifetime, in the spiritual plane you actually learn. There's schools. There's places of study to go and learn, to see how you could have done things differently in these lifetimes, to work out and mend out karma and plan for your next lifetime with some of the souls that you're even here with right now. We're all in this together. We're all meant to share these experiences together. We're all meant to help each other out, to grow together, to become closer to Source, Creator, God, whatever you want to call. But yeah, so Born, Die, Heaven, Hell is a trap that will keep you trapped, because it will make you not want to understand and question and open your mind up to other things, because you are fearful of not only death, but you're fearful of going to hell if you change your beliefs. You see how this is a beautiful, beautiful way to trap people into one specific frame of mind that's not all true. It is true you're born, you die. It is true that there's different levels, and even if you were in a near-death experience, you could project, heaven or hell, and then come back when you re-enter your body because you're not ready to go yet, and you can tell other people, hey, I saw heaven or I saw hell. That's true to an extent, because it's your own construct of your own mind, and what you believe to see is true. Because you're a very powerful being, and you have that power to literally manipulate energy. You might be wondering, okay, well, the Bible is the ultimate truth. The Bible is the partial truth. I read my Bible every day, and there are many winks at reincarnation, and I'm happy to open that up and show you guys. Especially within the Apocrypha. Oh, funny. The Apocrypha, the books that were taken out of the Bible by the main part of the church that likes to control. The Apocrypha winks towards reincarnation. Interesting. Wisdom of Solomon one of the most wise kings, emperors, Wisdom of Solomon, has it sprinkled all throughout. Winks at reincarnation. So actually, guys, the Bible does show a lot and does reveal a lot. Our interpretations and specific teachings of the Bible are inaccurate. There's a lot of wisdom in the Bible, and it should be read daily, to include a lot of wisdom in the Gita, the Quran, Torah, which is Moses' parts of the Bible, the Kabbalah. There's so much wisdom in all these different religious sectors. And we need structured religion, structured spirituality. We need that. It's like school. You go to school, you need structured school to be able to understand things and get through specific subjects. And then later on in your life, you can teach yourself whatever you want. Same thing with religion. Religion can teach you a lot of the basis and basics that are necessary to understand, but it doesn't give you everything that your soul needs and desires, and all of the information that's actually is true. You need to have both. You need structure, and you need to be able to be malleable, taking into consideration not just one subject, but all of the subjects. How does consciousness work? How do our bodies work? How does life and death work? How does all these different things? Understanding them from other viewpoints to then put everything together for what the actual truth of life is.